How you guys been? What have you been up to? Wow, Joe.
Yeah,
Wow,
Joe, what have you been up to?
What a great podcast.
Yeah.
Wow, we don't fucking do anything.
I was thinking about it. I'm like, that's a really fucking good question, Connor. What have I done this week other than just play Pokemon? Because that's
Is that
literally
fun?
all.
Is it good?
You haven't been touching grass. You've been touching some virtual grass.
I've been touching some virtual 5 frames per second grass.
Yeah.
We all know, as we've already established, you don't see frames. You can't tell the difference between 60 and 44.
I don't see frames.
That's why you like the new
That's why
Pokemon.
people are like, oh, the Switch has performance issues and this game runs like shit. I'm like, what are you talking about? it runs exactly the same. It's perfect.
Oh my god, the fact that I've seen clips and so much shit. I'm like, how could you not tell the difference? This is
Okay,
awful.
so yeah, I mean, there was rumors going around being like, oh, if you bought the physical copy, then it runs a million times more worse and it's a million times more glitchy than the digital version.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why, because like mine was like, I had a couple of like, because I had a couple of like frame drops and shit like that, and a lot of parts that were like just struggling to load. But I weren't having like huge crashes like some people were. So maybe there's some truth to that matter, but
I think they sold 10 million copies in the first 3 days. I think.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it was very successful.
It was a very highly anticipated series. I mean, I just finished it yesterday.
Actually, I know nothing about this because I don't really follow the gaming sphere, especially Pokemon. Yeah. So is this like a new mainline game or is this
it's the 9th generation.
Okay. And is it like 2D, 3D?
3D. So it's kind of like Legends Arceus, if you saw anything about that, except this time it's actually open world. Unlike Arceus, is an open zone game, and I'm like, oh,
is that the Sonic game?
yeah. It's like areas that are open, but then I think that's been a lot of other games, and we never had a term for it. We were just like, that's level.
Yeah, it's like Mario Odyssey, right? Where it's like once you open up the world, then you have free range on the entire world, and you can do whatever the fuck you want in that area. But in order to open up the next zone, you have to progress in the story. Right. Whereas this one is the actual first proper open world, where like the entire map is actually open for you.
Okay.
And like the only like roadblocks of like traversing through the world is like, you got to get your Pokemon to like surf so you can go in the ocean or something like that. But other than that, like places you can walk, it's fully open.
Okay. As somebody who's played a fuck ton of Pokemon, and I don't really feel that interested to play this new one, is there any reason I should play the new one? Is there anything new? Is there anything I care about? Or is it literally the same thing?
Not for reasons you will care about.
Okay.
Because
let me guess, story.
Yeah. Story and music are probably the best in any Pokemon game. Two things clearly Connor heavily cares about.
Connor, let me tell you about the story and the music. It's incredible.
Has the gameplay changed at all?
Okay, so the gameplay loop. Okay, did you play Arceus at all?
I did.
Okay, did you like the gameplay loop of Arceus?
Yeah.
Okay, then it's essentially the same thing.
All the Pokemon are running around.
All the Pokemon are running around in the open world. Of course, it's like, I would say Arceus was miraculously somehow less buggier in that sense, because there are moments where like Pokemon will suddenly appear and then you approach them and then they just straight up disappear. And so there's like,
sounds like a great game.
I mean, it's great to stream because it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Because the game is just so glitchy and broken. But like, other than that, like the gameplay loop, I would say, is really good. And I don't know. This is like the big argument when it comes to like every new generation of Pokemon being like, have Pokemon designs gotten lazier or have they gotten better? It's like a never-ending fucking argument, right?
They
like,
do look more like, from the brief like pictures I saw of the new Pokemon, they look more like Digimon than Pokemon.
A lot of people have said that.
They very much look like, whoa, okay.
I will say though, I think this is probably the one generation where I think all 3 starter Pokemon are just as popular as one another. Okay. Because like, you know how like in like Gen 1, for example, it's like clearly like, Charmander or Squirtle were like the top 2 contenders. Is like Bulbasaur, I sleep. And it was like, there was always one starter where it's like, I sleep. Or there was a clear winner. Yeah. I feel in this generation, I've seen like almost an equal dispersion of all 3 starters. Because I think like all 3 of the designs are really solid. And like just, again, like the gameplay kind of really doesn't really matter really like what kind of starter you pick at the end of the day, because it is an open world and you can go in any direction.
I want them to make starters that aren't water, fire, or grass. I feel like they should do that. Just like... Is it because of the 3 colors that are aesthetically pleasing? Is that why we stick to it? Like, why do we stick to
Well, I guess it's also because of the OG like triangle, right?
Yeah.
Of like, one is stronger than the other, kind of thing.
I guess so. But I feel like it could be more exciting to
I agree.
have it mix up,
I agree.
Because they all get 2 types anyway now.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it's like, all right, well, why don't we just do, all right, well, we get fire later on or some shit. I
Yeah,
don't fucking know.
but I'm sure you can like traverse through the game without using your starter at all.
Yeah, I mean, you normally can. Pokemon's easy enough now where you have to have 1 IQ to
Yeah.
fail. Like, it's really hard to fuck up.
It is. It is.
I mean, is it worth getting back into Pokemon nowadays? Because
Well, it depends. Where did you stop?
I stopped at Pokemon Ruby. That's which. Yes.
Well, okay,
yes.
so, okay,
I know,
no, so,
right?
like,
I know.
I mean, you did play peak Pokemon in my opinion.
Yeah.
So,
Because
yeah.
I played Red and Blue. I played Gold and Silver. Then I played Ruby, and I was like, okay, I think I'm done.
and that's fair. I think,
and it's been like how many decades now?
yeah,
You know?
and
like
the core
20.
formula hasn't changed, and
Yeah.
it's gotten easier.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
So I think the reason why Pokemon has had a lot of longevity amongst older people is that you add the Nuzlocke, you add the challenges,
Yeah.
you add a spin to it that makes it interesting for yourself.
Yeah, because the way I see the Pokemon franchise in my mind, it's kind of like the same way isekai is for anime, where it's iterations of the same idea.
That's
and
offensive.
Well, okay, tell me if you like it,
I don't
then
know. I don't know who's
you can
offended more by that. I think they're both pretty.
I was
fucking
gonna say
lazy.
something like it's a lot like Game of Thrones, where it's like if you're like 6, 7.
Wait, hold on.
In the sense of like how the fan base works, where it's like, okay, if you're already 6 or 7 seasons in, you might as well just fucking finish the rest at that point.
Well, they're all like different games, though. What are you talking about? Game of Thrones is like one continuing.
Hold up. What the fuck?
This is coming from someone who's never seen Game of Thrones, by the way.
What the fuck are you talking about, Joey?
What I mean is, if you, it's a lot like any long form TV series where it's got multiple series, right, or multiple seasons. Where like, okay, you enjoyed the first couple of ones, okay, maybe the third or fourth one slightly starting to go downhill, but you're already committed at this point. You might as well just see it till the end.
I don't agree with this. I feel like
Because
Pokemon.
I haven't enjoyed every Pokemon game. Some of the Pokemon games, in my opinion, have been quite shit. Like
Yeah.
Sun and Moon were pretty mid, in my opinion.
Sword and Shield was dog shit.
It wasn't dog shit. It was mid.
I hated that.
It was okay.
I hated it. I hated
X
it.
and Y was like, yeah, it was okay as well.
I can't remember a single Pokemon from Sword and Shield, except for like the two characters.
The sword
on
and the
front.
shield one?
Yeah, there's the old, if you tell me to name any Pokemon from that game, I'm
Yeah.
like,
I'm the same though with like X and Y or like Sun and Moon. I'm like, after
Yeah.
that point, for me, it's like after Gen 4 and the recent one that I just played, I don't really remember any
I
of
didn't
them.
play X and Y or Sun and Shield, so that's why I don't. But
Yeah.
I don't. I played the whole game and I don't remember any. But also, I wouldn't say it's like the Game of Thrones analogy. I'd say it's more like it's independent series, right? So there's no ongoing story.
Isekai.
No,
It's okay.
no,
Let me.
because Isekai is not the same Isekai series, right? It's not like we've done. This is one guy in the same world in a smartphone, and then there's a different story with a different cast of characters.
Oh,
And-
it's like it's like iterations of the same kind of formula. It's kind of like
like
kinda
Doctor Who.
No, because that would be like. Yes, okay. It's
Yeah,
like
it's
Doctor
more
Who.
like Doctor Who.
More like Doctor
Wait,
Who.
is there like an ongoing story or something?
No,
'cause Doctor
but
Who
there,
isn't.
but like Doctor Who is also in
then
the
they
sense
do
that
have
like
some callbacks.
it has,
This
but
is
Pokemon
nice.
also has callbacks as well. Like there are a lot of
many.
callbacks in the newer generations where you wouldn't really understand it. I think especially in terms of like the lore, which is the same with Doctor Who, right? Where it's like you could just like go straight into season 10, which is everyone
You've
knows
never
is the
watched
best.
Doctor Who, have you?
I've watched the
Doctor Who doesn't-
5 to 11.
Well, the story,
Okay,
the story of
okay.
Doctor Who doesn't. Well, it kind of
I've
does
never seen the
separate,
first-
but then they
yeah.
do have callbacks and mentions.
Like
Yeah, I
I've
mean-
never seen the first
this
couple
is a
of
mess. We fucked this up.
No, but
Fuck this
I've never,
so
okay,
much.
look, like in terms of Doctor Who, I've never seen like the first 4 seasons of Doctor Who.
No.
But I still enjoyed all the seasons I watched because they don't heavily depend on the callbacks.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like if you want to fully 100.
It's like a trash taste episode. You don't have to watch the one before.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing.
No, I mean, Doctor Who has always had like one goal, which is for the Doctor, it's find Gallifrey, find other Time Lords and stuff like that. There's always been like one central goal, and then you've had like story arcs that have like come and gone with different characters and everything, but the core idea of the show has always remained kind of the same.
Pokemon's exactly the same. What's the end goal? To be the very best. There are a couple of side characters that have their own storylines you follow, but at the end of the day, you're there to fucking beat the Elite Four and be the champion.
Yeah, there's no need to play any Pokemon game prior to.
Yeah, I get that.
Even I think like Black and White and Black and White 2. I don't even think their stories are necessarily like.
Yeah,
I could be wrong. I might be talking about my ass.
No, you're right.
What I was trying to say is, I got like the reason I stopped playing was just because I got kind of tired of the formula,
Yeah,
and then I was
shit.
just like, is there anything? What I was trying to ask is there anything new to like bring me back in.
So
aside from Arceus, which actually looks interesting to me.
Yeah. Well, Arceus is not even a mainline game.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
like
exactly.
in terms of Violet Scarlet, the new one, what I thought was really, really cool was like the open world thing is of course one thing, but also now there are 3 branching storylines that you can choose to do.
Oh, okay.
And
that's pretty cool.
So it's like one of the storylines is the beat the 8 gyms, beat the Elite Four, become the champion, the standard one.
Yeah.
And then there are 2 other storylines that you can do that follow 2 separate characters. And then, well, I mean, at the end of the day, in order to get to like the final end, you have to do all 3 storylines anyway. But you can do this storyline in any order you want.
Oh, that's cool.
So you can choose to be like, I'm just gonna fucking Elite Four and become the champion, and then start this next one. Or what I did was I did all 3 simultaneously.
Okay.
And so it's like, okay, so I just defeated the 5th gym. Instead of going to the 6th gym, I'm just gonna go do this next part of this story.
Right.
And so it's kind of like a pick your own adventure type of style, and that works really well in like the open world setting.
Yeah.
So now it becomes like this fresh new thing that you can do. It's not just like I need to make the best team and become the best.
What do you think about people criticizing the visuals of the game, that they don't look as good as up to par as other Nintendo Switch games?
Okay, so one thing I don't know if this is a hot take, but I personally don't have a problem with like the way that the game looks, because I mean, if you think about it, that just kind of how it works in the style of Pokemon, right? Like, I can't imagine a Pokemon game that has the graphics of like a Breath of the Wild.
Well, I don't think it's that. I think they're just saying, I think a lot of criticism was levied at them because they're like, the sceneries look really fucking boring. And to be fair, I've seen a lot of the screenshots of the game. I'm like, wow, this looks so visually boring.
It is, yeah.
Like all the backgrounds and all the textures look really bad.
But I think as well, unlike say like, because the one game a lot of people use to compare is Breath of the Wild, right? Being like, oh, Breath of the Wild had like so much shit going on, and like the environment was actually like interactive and really cool. But like the whole point of Breath of the Wild is to interact with your surroundings. Whereas in the Pokemon games, it's not to interact with the surroundings, it's to interact with the Pokemon.
But I understand that I would be like, wow, this Pokemon in this natural habitat on this one by one PNG texture that looks like ass. Like I'd be like, well,
no, could they have done better? Absolutely.
Yeah. It's like they're going closer to like indie horror devs, where they're like, we're just making one big texture, and we'll call it.
Game Freak is doing this really cool thing where they're bringing back the PS2 graphics, man. Like, it's a real forward-thinking move.
One thing that has always confused me about, I guess, like the success of Pokemon, like mainline Pokemon games, right, is that, would you say that there has been a Pokemon game within like the last few years that you would say is like an absolute must play, kind of like killer app that you'd see like Breath of the Wild, or like a really, really highly acclaimed game?
Not really.
A lot of people's favorite game is Black and White 2. A lot of people love that one. But again, but the Nintendo DS era is all, I mean, they're very minute changes each one and improvements.
Also, I think a lot of Pokemon fans' favorites are Black and White 2s because it has one of the best stories. But if you don't give a shit about the story of Pokemon games, which a lot of Pokemon players don't, then it's like, there's not really
there's
like
no
a thing
game
you
that you have to play. I think Pokemon is just a juggernaut of advertising and brand recognition. And also it's easy. Like, you, as a parent, you don't have to think about buying your kid Pokemon. Because you as the parent know what Pokemon is.
It's like Mario. You don't have to. There isn't like a must-play Mario game.
There are some fucking classic Mario games. Holy shit.
I think all of them are must-plays.
But is that you saying that through nostalgia goggles, or is that you saying that through like...
Odyssey still remains as like one of the best Switch games. And like,
I agree.
I think it was like my game of the year. Like the year it was released, it was like a fucking incredible game. Same with like Zelda as well. Breath of the Wild completely revolutionized the gaming, the open world genre after it got released. So there have been like big IPs that have had killer apps. But for me, what always confused me about Pokemon is that it sells like fucking hotcakes. It breaks every kind of record imaginable, and then I look at the game reviews, and then every time a new game comes out, it's like, yeah, it's all right, it's good.
It's because I feel Pokemon generally are appealing to 2 types of player bases: the children and the old school Pokemon fans.
Right.
They're not trying to get like this new adult fan base who has never played Pokemon before, because they know there's no Pokemon game that they can make that will be like a 20-year-old kid who's never played a Pokemon game will be like, yeah, you know what, I should give that game a go. They're not going to do that.
It's like water. Everyone drinks water, whereas Breath of the Wild is like the most exquisite wine where it's like, oh shit, I gotta be 21, I gotta have some money, and I gotta be in wine. Like if you like that, it's the best.
Of games.
It's like the best thing ever. If you have that you want to get into it. But Pokemon is so basic and so
Pokemon's
standard.
the Fiji water of games.
It's literally just anyone can drink it. You know what I mean?
Anyone can drink it.
Anyone on earth, and anyone likes it.
Yeah,
it's like, all right,
everyone's
Yeah.
gonna drink it, but no one's gonna be ejaculating over a bottle of Fiji water. They're just gonna be like, yeah, it quenched my thirst.
Yeah.
I'm satisfied.
I don't know. Personally, I'm just like kind of over Pokemon. I'm like, I kind of enjoy it when there's a Nuzlocke or something fun to do.
No,
with
and
it.
and that's the thing. I totally get that, which is
Yeah.
why I always find it frustrating when these fucking Pokemon fans are like, no, I swear this is the generation that everyone has to play. I'm like, no, they don't, because at the end of the day, it's a fucking children's
I
game.
didn't want to say that. I thought Pokemon fans hate everything.
They do.
Oh, okay.
But Pokemon fans are the type of motherfuckers who will be like, first week of Violet and Scarlet coming out, being
Yeah.
like, this game looks like shit. And then
Yeah.
a week later, they'll be like, all right, I'll give it a go.